another fanfiction reading. Today, I will be continuing My Little Chrono, Triggers Are Magic. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy, I guess. Sorry. So, yeah. Where am I? Okay. Sorry. Getting a bit distracted. The music is pretty awesome, I know. Okay, so, Chapter 7, The Trial. 1000 AD, Sugardia Castle Courthouse. Morning came quickly for Rainbow Dash. She was being led from the dungeon by 2 armed guards. Thick bindings firmly secured her wings to her side, preventing any chance of escape by air. Their final destination was the royal courthouse within one of the towers of the castle, where her fate would be decided. Rainbow Dash wept silently as she was marched forward. One of the guards scoffed in disgust. Already in tears? Pathetic. If you didn't have the nerves for it, perhaps you shouldn't have thought. Sorry. If you didn't have the nerves for it, perhaps you should have thought twice before full napping our princess. Rainbow Dash looked up at the guards with moist eyes. I am so hungry. I haven't eaten anything since 2 days ago. Can't I get a quick breakfast before the trial? The guard did a double take. That was hardly the confession he expected. He turned his gaze back ahead. The trial cannot be delayed. You may eat after your judgment has been decided. Rainbow Dash whimpered and hung her head low. Her guards opened a pair of tall chamber doors, leading her into the courtroom. She was led up to a small stand in the center of a large circular amphitheater. A sweeping galley of common ponies sat in the rows encircling the courtroom floor. Based on their jeers and cheering as Rainbow Dash was led into the chamber, they seemed quite biased for a guilty verdict. In a special booth above the galley seating, 7 elderly ponies sat, quietly murmuring to each other. On the courtroom floor, 2 desks stood on each side. Chancellor Scratch was behind one of the desks, pushing around papers and memos with her horn's magic, reviewing for the case. The other desk was currently empty. Between the 2 desks, in the front of the chamber, stood a towering, elegant wooden bench. A very elderly pony with a long white beard sat behind the bench, practically waiting for the trial to begin. As Rainbow Dash looked up above the judge, he saw a massive stained glass mural depicting Lady Justice, a blindfolded alicorn holding a sword with one raised hoof, and a set of scales with the other hoof. The morning sunlight shone through the mural, igniting the room with a kaleidoscope of colors. "Good, the defendant's here," said Chancellor Scratch, turning to the judge. "Let's get this thing started." The judge shook his head.
"We are still waiting for the defense. Miss Dash, do you have an attorney who will be representing you?"
Rainbow Dash blinked. This was the first that any pony had mentioned this to her. "What? Attorney?" The judge frowned and replied,
"If you do not have a representation, the court can appoint one for you."
"Unacceptable!" chided Chancellor Scratch. "We don't have time to brief an attorney. This should have been dealt with last night." Rainbow Dash was sweating profusely. Her trial hadn't even started and it was already falling apart. No one had told her to secure an attorney for the trial. "Actually, how was I supposed to do that? I was being held in prison." And now the Chancellor was pushing for a rushed replacement. I guess." The courtroom doors slammed open. "Gah! Sorry, so very sorry." Rainbow Dash heard a pony charge into the room, shuffling a stack of papers and other legal materials. "Sorry, Your Honor. I was trying to prepare all of the materials for the case, and I ran late. With your blessing, I am ready to begin with the proceedings." Chancellor Scratch arched an eyebrow. "You're the defendants?" That's correct. I will be representing Miss Rainbow Dash in the case of Kingdom of Sugardia versus Rainbow Dash, defending against the indictment of one court full-napping, one court treason, one court blackmailing for ransom, and 3 courts of crime committed against the royal family. The speaker walked up beside the defendant's stand and bowed to the judge. Rainbow Dash, excuse me. Rainbow Dash turned her head to look at the pony who would be representing her. Her jaw dropped to the floor in shock and alarm. Beside her was a lavender unicorn, suspending a massive pile of books and paperwork in midair with her horn. Twi? Good morning, Rainbow Dash. Twilight Sparkle smiled cheerily. I'm here to be your defense attorney. Rainbow Dash leaned in close to her friend, whispering through gritted teeth. What the hell are you doing? You aren't a lawyer. You're an inventor. Winking, Twilight Sparkle opened her saddlebag. She jumped slightly as a book and a few papers dropped from midair in the process. She was near her limit of items she could magically manipulate at once. Turning back to her friend, she edged a book out of her saddlebag and tipped the binding toward Rainbow Dash so that she could read the title. The Egghead's Guide to Defending Kingdom-Level Court Cases? Rainbow Dash felt nauseated. No, absolutely not. She looked hurt. You know, when I showed up for the party last night and found that you had been arrested, I pulled an all-nighter studying law and putting together your case. She turned her nose up in mock haughtiness and added, But if you're so against the idea, I don't have to represent you. I'm sure you could find some other lawyer who knows your case inside and out. Rainbow Dash's ears drooped, and she lowered her head. She was still not sold on the idea, but she knew that her friend was far and away her best hopes at this point. Fine, you're my lawyer. Sorry for misjudging you. Grinning cutely, with her eyes closed, Twilight Sparkle picked up most of the materials off the ground and dropped them haphazardly at the defense attorney's desk. I, Twilight Sparkle, am ready as the defense, Your Honor, she said as she frantically began organizing and shuffling her papers. You certainly don't look ready. Rainbow Dash already felt clammy from her perspiration. No. Prosecution's... Who's saying that? Okay. Prosecution's ready, Your Honor. Nodding, the judge banged his gavel, quieting down the chamber.
The court shall now come to order. We will begin the trial at this time. Miss Dash, you are hereby ordered to answer all questions completely and truthfully.
She bowed her head solemnly and gave a hoarse reply. I understand, Your Honor. Chancellor Scratch walked out from behind her desk and addressed the booth of elder ponies. Jury ponies, the defendant is accused of the charges that the unicorn listed, mostly full-napping Princess Pinkamena. You guys are here to pick how we're going to punish her. Tickle torture? Hang her upside down for a few years? She walked up to Rainbow Dash, leaning in uncomfortably close to her. Oh, that was Scratch. My bad. Maybe the guillotine? Looking back to the jury, she concluded, It's your choice. Twilight Sparkle shook her head from behind the desk. This case is open and shut. Miss Rainbow Dash is charged with full-napping Princess Pinkamena, did she? No, she did not. She leaned forward over the desk, adding emphasis. It was completely the opposite, in fact. Princess Pinkamena asked Rainbow Dash if she could accompany her during the millennial summer sun celebration. The judge eyed Rainbow Dash.
Is this true, Miss Dash? Who approached whom?
Rainbow Dash looked over to Twilight, who silently mouthed the words, She did. Rainbow Dash closed her eyes and tried to remember back to yesterday morning. Actually, Twilight Sparkle was right. She remembered being initially annoyed because Pinkie Pie had basically invited herself to tag along. Right after, she sighed. No, Your Honor. I was the one who started it. Twilight Sparkle moaned in dismay. Rainbow, weren't you reading my lips? She shook her head. Pinkie Pie did ask.
Who?
Right. Princess Pinkamena did ask if she could hang out with me, but that was only after I had crashed into her. I was flying low in Diana Square and... Ha! Cried Chancellor Scratch. So you admit that you initially approached the princess? It was an accident, wailed Rainbow Dash. I didn't mean to crash into any pony. I didn't mean to crash at all. Okay. After forcing Princess Pinkamena to follow you, a bunch of ponies spotted you two wandering amongst the celebration for about an hour. After then, no pony reported seeing you for the rest of the day. Sure sounds like abduction to me. The audience began murmuring loudly in response to the clear accusation. The judge pounded his gavel to restore order. Wait. Also, several ponies have come forward with testimony that damns the defendant's character. My character? Asked the confused Rainbow Dash. Twilight Sparkle banged her desk with a hoof. Objection! Relevance! Chancellor Scratch raised an eyebrow at Twilight Sparkle. Relevance? Of her character? It's the core of the case. I can prove that Rainbow Dash is a pony of sketchy morality. Certainly devious enough to commit treason. The judge pounded his gavel.
While a judgment of morality is not sufficient for a conviction, I'm inclined to agree with the Chancellor that it bears relevance to the case. Objection overruled.
Twilight Sparkle frowned. Miss Rainbow Dash is one of the most loyal ponies in all of Sugardia. We have nothing to hide. She pounded the desk with her hoof. Besides, I still contest that character has no bearing on this case. The Chancellor has failed to establish the motive for why my client would commit treason. Rainbow Dash was thoroughly impressed. The Chancellor seemed to have the upper hoof so far, but Twilight Sparkle was fighting back with all her might and pulling off a surprising amount of courtroom knowledge for some pony who earned their law degree over one sleep-deprived night. Motive? Chancellor Scratch raised her lip in contempt. How about, I don't know, money? The royal family is loaded after all. Clearly she was planning to blackmail them for a ton of cash. She moved in front of the defendant's stand, staring face to face with Rainbow Dash. Ain't you right? Ain't that right? No! I'd never do something that horrible. Princess Pinkamena and I hung out together because we're friends. Oh, are you sure? She, afraid, surprised, leaning in close. You weren't tempted by the coinage? Not one bit? No! Rainbow Dash angrily pounded her hoof on the stand. I don't give a crap about her money, and I'm certainly not a full napper. Say that one more time, and I'll... Her voice trailed off. Chancellor Scratch was smiling, and Rainbow Dash didn't like the looks of that smile one bit. Gotcha, she whispered. Rainbow Dash threw a furtive look at Twilight Sparkle for confirmation, but the unicorn was flipping through one of her reference books and failed to catch her eye. The Chancellor turned and confidently walked back to her desk. So, the defendant just said, under oath, I remind you, she didn't care about the money. Reaching the desk, she turned back and grinned smugly at Rainbow Dash. Witness! The chamber doors opened, and a gray unicorn with a midnight blue mane was led into the chamber. Immediately, he turned to face the booth of jurors. Who's saying this? Okay.
I saw it all. The rainbow-striped Pegasus there. She just crashed into the princess. Bam! Collision knocked her necklace clean off. She was looking everywhere for it, and wouldn't you know it, that Pegasus grabbed the necklace. Didn't even check if the princess was okay. Probably intended to sell it. Go figure. We're done here. He turned to leave. What? Rainbow Dash panicked. I picked it up because I fell on top of it, and I gave it right back. Objection! Twilight Sparkle interrupted, ruffling through a stack of papers. Speculation! The witness shall refrain from speculating that the defendant wanted to sell the necklace, or that she grabbed the necklace, or that any pony had a necklace.
Chancellor Scratch was still smiling. Next witness! The gray unicorn left the chamber and was exchanged with a pale yellow unicorn with a fiery red mane. He had dark circles around his eyes and wasn't quite walking straight. He yawned.
Is that... Yeah, that's her, I think. I was at the celebration working.
Another yawn.
At one of the shops, late in the afternoon. That rainbow earth pony came to my shop and...
Yawning again.
Tried to sell me a silver necklace, but I recognized it was the queen's, I think. So I didn't buy it. I'd tell you more after the break.
He fell asleep on the spot. Oh, come on! Screamed Rainbow Dash. That's complete nonsense! There's so many things! Look at him! He's totally sleep deprived! Objection! Lying! My client says the witness is lying, so you have to strike that testimony from the records. Chancellor Scratch grinned wider as she went in for the next kill. Next witness! The guards woke up the unicorn and escorted him out of the courtroom. As they left, a white Pegasus with a hot pink mane flew in. Wait, what? White Pegasus with a hot pink mane flew in. I don't know who's saying this. Oh. I saw her together with the princess. The princess was innocently trying to buy some candy when this one fiendishly pounced on her, dragging her away by force. The princess was all screaming, "No! Let me go! Don't fawn at me!" But she was unrelenting. She led the princess up to Twilight Sparkle's invention, and from that I hear no pony saw either of them after that. Rainbow Dash's blood froze. Oh no! I did drag Pinky around at that candy stand, and she did yell out. No, I mean, yeah, some of that did. You've got it all wrong. It's a huge misunderstanding. Twilight Sparkle's desk was a maelstrom of reference guides. They were flying by at such a speed that it was incredibly unlikely they were actually being read. Objection! Freedom of speech. The princess has the freedom to scream that she's being full-napped, even when she isn't. Which she wasn't. The final witness was led out of the courtroom. As she passed by, she smiled widely at Rainbow Dash. Such a naughty mare! You probably had to tie the princess up after you full-napped her, huh? Did you use nylon cord or natural fiber? I didn't... Wait. Huh? Rainbow Dash didn't get a chance to process the question, as Chancellor Scratch's triumphant voice filled the chamber. And there you have it. Motivated by greed. She stole the necklace, pawned it, tied up the princess, dragged her to Twilight Sparkle's thing, after which she stopped cold in her tirade. Slowly, she turned her head to look at Twilight Sparkle. The lavender unicorn froze. Forgetting about her books, they all fell at once with a thunderous crash. She began sweating profusely and offered a shaky, tooth-filled grin. The Chancellor addressed her. You! 10th lawyer! What did you say your name was? Who? Me? She swallowed dryly, twitching nervously. Oh, silly me. I think I forgot to mention it. Chancellor Scratch's eyes narrowed. I think you did mention it, but whatever. Tell us your name. Chocolate milk? She slammed her hoof on the desk. Name! Now! Twilight Sparkle squeaked, barely audible. Twilight Sparkle! At once the galley exploded with rageful shouts. Mistral! She was in on the whole thing! Subverting the law of the land! Hang them both! Have they no shame? I knew that Pegasus was up to no good. Chancellor Scratch turned to the judge. There you have it. Rainbow Dash planted an accomplice as for the lawyer and tried to fool you, me, and all the jurors in order to get away with the crime of the century. With tremendous force, Twilight Sparkle brought both of her front hooves down on the desk, knocking several parchments on the floor with a resounding slam. She reared up on her hind legs and pointed a hoof dramatically and accusingly at the Chancellor. "Objection!" she screamed at the top of her lungs. That's a reference to Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright. The courtroom was deathly silent. The judge, the chancellor, Rainbow Dash, the jurors, galley, and guards. Every pony's eyes were fixated on the unicorn, awaiting her next words. Rainbow Dash felt an eerie chill run down her spine. Her friend standing before her was no mere dorky inventor. This was a goddess of law, sweeping in with a dramatic DSX machine to turn the court case around and save her from an ultimately fate. After a few seconds of perching, she wobbled slightly and dropped on all fours. Coughing lightly, she spoke thusly. "I was hoping to come up with something while objecting, Your Honor," she blessed. "I didn't." The judge nodded contemplatively. I can't say the word today.
Yes, I see.
Rainbow Dash slammed her head on the podium. "You've got to be kidding me." "Objection! Miss Sparkle, you had better have an objection in mind this time. The court time is not to be wasted." Oh, no, that was the honor. Whatever. "Yes, Your Honor." She swallowed nervously, stalling for time. "Indeed. Verily, I say, ergo." "Grr, Twilight, what gives?" Rainbow Dash yelled, unable to hold back. "If you can't think of something, just reuse one of the ones you already used. Like," she suddenly gasped, "Hell Dance! Subjective Hell Dance!" Twilight Sparkle's face contorted as she tried to translate from Dash's. "Objection Revelance? That one!" She nodded vigorously, then turned to the Chancellor. "Twilight was a big help with objecting and using her books and all that brainy stuff. But she never actually answered any questions. That was all me, and those 3 ponies you brought in, she wasn't able to change anything we said. I told the truth regardless, so why does it matter if she's my friend?" Chancellor Scratch stared at Rainbow Dash blankly. "Revelance? Really? The 2 of you are caught red-hooved trying to scam first the royal family, then the court? And you think it's irrelevant?" The judge nodded solemnly.
I am inclined to agree. Objection sustained.
"Seriously?" Chancellor Scratch, Twilight Sparkle, and Rainbow Dash yelled in unison, incredulously.
"I can think of no way in which Miss Sparkle has negatively interfered with the proceedings thus far. She has not influenced the testimony of her client in any significant way, nor has she tampered with any of the witnesses, and I did not sustain any objections of hers that were of a questionable nature. I agree with Miss Dash that, even under the worst of assumptions, Miss Sparkle has not violated the integrity of this hearing."
"I don't believe this!" Chancellor Scratch wailed in rage.
"That said," the judge continued, "we will move forward on 2 conditions. As a conflict of interest has been raised, we will move directly to the verdict at this time, so that there are no further opportunities for contaminations. Secondly, Miss Sparkle, since you were with Miss Dash at the time of the princess's disappearance, by your own admission, you are hereby considered an accomplice and will therefore receive identical judgment to that which we decide for Miss Dash. Do you understand?"
Twilight Sparkle bowed her head in defeat. "I understand, Your Honor. I will abide by the court's decision."
"Fine by me,"
scoffed Chancellor Scratch. In the end, the only thing that gets changed is that we have 2 executions now instead of 1. The judge banged his gavel.
"Fillies and gentlecolt of the jury, at this time we will ready to hear your verdict."
The 7 ponies in the raised box slowly made their way down to the courtroom floor. Twilight Sparkle left her desk and went to stand next to her friend in the middle of the room. "Don't worry, Rainbow. Despite a few setbacks and a few pieces of condemning testimony and a few courtroom violations, I'd say we made a pretty good, compelling case. Rainbow Dash stared at her. If you weren't trembling, I'd almost believe that. Speak for yourself, she teased back. They shared a quick glance, then huddled together, comforting each other and praying for a miracle.
Guilty,
said the first juror. The audience burst into cheers. Rainbow Dash gasped. That's it? We're guilty just like that? Hush, it's best out of 7. Rainbow Dash sparkled. Sighed Rainbow Twilight Sparkle. What the heck was wrong with me? Sighed Twilight Sparkle. Not guilty, said the second juror. Oh, okay. Phew. Rainbow Dash relaxed, but was still on edge. The 5 remaining jurors would be deciding their fates. Excuse me. Guilty.
Guilty.
The two ponies' hearts sank as the crowd cheers grew, calling for blood. The testimony of the witnesses, while exaggerated and outright mistaken, was killing their case and preventing the truth of their versions from being seen. If any of the last 3 jurors called for a guilty verdict, it would be all over. They held each other closer and closer, closer and closed their eyes. Wait, what? Oh. Not guilty. Rainbow Dash twitched slightly, but let it pass. Doesn't matter. One of the other 2s will vote guilty for sure. Not guilty. They both looked up, then at each other. Could it be? Will we actually make it? The last juror walked to the center of the room and cleared his throat. A hush fell over the room as every pony strained to hear his tie-breaking decision. While he did not project very strongly, every pony in the room was able to hear him clearly as day. Not guilty? We did it! Rainbow Dash and Twilight Sparkle locked and embraced, leapt into the air in celebration, landing clumsily. They fell into a pile. They began to laugh as all of the stress and tension of the situation released and drained out of their bodies. Chancellor Scratch had no words. Turning silently back to her desk, she flung her papers off her desk with her magic. She bucked the desk repeatedly, venting her anger and frustration. The crowd of spectators began booing lowly, apparently disagreeing strongly with the decision. Many of them were screaming angry about a travesty of justice, this, and a trial was a sham, that. The judge pounded his gavel forcibly, trying to quiet down the crowd.
Order! Order! I will have order!
After a minute, the room had grown quiet enough for him to proceed.
While Miss Dash has not been found guilty of her various charges, the fact remains that she and Miss Sparkle ran away with the princess, causing the crown and the royal guards severe distress as they searched for her highness. Therefore, the 2 of you shall serve 3 days of jail time as punishment. Court is dismissed.
With one last pound of his gavel, he stood to leave. Oh. Hey! Just 1 minute, mister! Yelled some pony in the galley. Rainbow Dash turned in confusion, trying to look for the source, but she didn't need to search for long. A pony with a curly pink mane was bouncing from row to row, awkwardly pushing and landing on top of the other ponies in attendance. Pinkie Pie? You're watching the trial? Whoa! She tripped as she attempted to jump from the bottom row to the courtroom floor, landing with a squeak. Quickly bouncing back up to her hooves, she implored the judge. That's right, and my friends are innocent. You said it. You said so yourself. If they didn't do anything wrong, then you have to let them go. The courtroom doors flew open once again with a resounding slam.
That is enough, Pinkamena!
The grin with the round sound.
That is enough, Pinkamena!
Pinkie Pie did not need to look in order to recognize the voice. Instead, she opted to glare angrily at the floor. Father! She spoke just above a whisper. Rainbow Dash needed to do a double take. Having seen the royal family of this era and the past era, she had certainly noticed a family resemblance running through all of its members. In the case of King Shurgadea III, however, he was the spitting image of his ancestor, from the crimson royal robes to his brown coat and light gray sideburns.
My only request was that today you behave as a proper princess should. Was this too much to ask?
Pinkie Pie snapped her head around, glaring hatefully at her father, the king. You're just going to stand there and let this happen? They didn't do anything wrong! King Shurgadea shook his head thoughtfully.
All ponies of this realm are subject to its laws. If the meekest filly of the mightiest... From the meekest filly to the mightiest of kings. The court has cast their decision on these two mares, and that decision shall be carried forth. Allow Chancellor Scratch to carry out her duties, and forget about yesterday's nonsense.
Nonsense? A lump formed in Pinkie Pie's throat. Unable to form the words, she could do nothing but grit her teeth.
Let go,
Chancellor Scratch said to the guards. They approached Rainbow Dash and Twilight Sparkle, shoving them toward the chamber doors. Pinkie Pie snapped back to her senses and reached out a hoof in vain to her friends as they were led away. Dashy! Twi! Rainbow Dash twisted her head around to look back as she was forced ahead. Don't worry, Pinkie Pie. Well... The courtroom door slammed behind her, separating Princess Pinkamena from her newfound friends once again. 1000 AD, Shurgadea Castle Dungeons. Processing room. The guards led the two friends into the processing room for the dungeon. Rainbow Dash was still equipped with her belt shackle from the morning, holding her wings tightly against her body. Similarly, Twilight Sparkle had been fitted with a magic dampening horn sheath, preventing her from using any of her magical abilities. Hampered as they were stripped of her saddlebags and equipment and surrounded by armed guards at every turn, they had no choice but to march onward to their punishment. In the processing room, an aging purple Pegasus sat behind a desk, filtering through stacks of forms and bureaucracies. Looking up, she snapped to attention and crisply saluted. Ah! Chancellor, what a wonderful surprise! What marks the occasion for this visit? Chancellor Scratch motioned toward the two captive ponies with an indifferent lean of her head. Bringing in the terrorist who ran off with the princess. That sounded really weird, sorry. The warden glared at the two friends. Those scum? Those scum. Excellent. Wait, who's saying that? Oh, okay, that was the... Okay. Those scum? Excellent. It's such a satisfying feeling to lock away a couple of true villains. That was a... Oh, yeah, that was a girl. Okay, so... Twilight Sparkle smiled disarmingly. Oh, no. Far from it. This has all been a terrible misunderstanding. In fact, even the court they were found guilty of high treason and have been sentenced to execution by beheading. What? The friends screamed in unified horror. Oh, man. The execution is scheduled for sunset tonight. Do not let them out of your sight until then. That's a lie! She's lying! Rainbow Dash yelled in a panic. We're innocent! The warden snorted in contempt. Of course you're innocent. You and every pony who's ever been held here. Your records, Twilight Sparkle jumped in. Surely if you check your records, you'll see that we're not scheduled to be executed at all. The warden rolled her eyes and started flipping through her memos. That's an even bigger laugh. I've prided myself in avoiding a single critical error in the last 92 months. Now you're going to tell me... Her voice trailed off as she scrutinized the stack of paperwork. Well, this is peculiar. Chancellor, it doesn't appear that I received the authorization forms to carry out this sentencing. Do you know what has become of them? Chancellor Scratch strode up, getting so close that her chest leaned uncomfortably against the warden's. Panicking, the warden could do nothing but stare into the Chancellor's captivating red eyes. Let me get this straight. After years of perfection, you managed to lose the paperwork for snuffing out the worst terrorists this country has seen in years. You are prepared to let them walk free because you royally screwed up. The warden swallowed nervously. No, ma'am. We'll begin making preparations right away. Twilight Sparkle stomped angrily toward the Chancellor. You monster! You'll never get away with... Ah! Telekinetically, the Chancellor grabbed a hold of her and threw her roughly against the stone walls of the room. She crumpled awkwardly and fell in a heap. Twilight! Pfft! Never. Pfft! Never? What's it look like I'm doing right now? I don't... Oh, okay. Rainbow Dash glared murderously at the unicorn with the electric blue mane and prepared to charge at her. You'll pay for this, you lousy piece of... But Rainbow Dash was unable to finish her threat. Her consciousness fell out from under her as the guard's nightstick connected firmly with the back of her skull. Well, it seems like that's the end. Chapter 7. Rainbow Dash and Twilight are going to be sentenced to death unless they can get out. Will they? I don't know. Well, thanks for watching my videos. Check out one of my other videos. Like, subscribe if you haven't. And this is getting really good, really intense. I really am enjoying this. Though my voice is getting a little hoarse. It's getting a little hoarse from doing this. I know. Lame joke, I know. What else? Oh yeah. Go check out Brony Fanfic and Doom Pie, good friends of mine, do great readings. Like, subscribe to them, they're great too. I'm kind of just trying to run out time with this thing because I have like a whole minute before stuff. But I don't know what to say other than thanks for watching my video. Go check out my other videos. They're pretty interesting. I got, various things of everything. Like, subscribe if you haven't. Come back for the next chapter, because that would be awesome for you to do. But until then, I guess I will see you guys later. Oh no! Before I forget, I did a reading on Brony Fanfic's channel, so go check that out. Check that out. It's awesome. But in that case, without further ado, without further interruption, thanks for watching my videos. Check out my other videos. But until then, I guess I will see you guys later.
Brony on!